Again this morning with disturbing new details on the death of Renee Good. MS Now has learned that aides to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche intervened directly with the FBI, not only shutting down an investigation into the ICE officer who shot and killed Good, but altering it into a probe of Renee Good for criminal liability in her own death. That's according to 3 people briefed on those discussions. One official, Tracy Mergen, an FBI supervisor in the Minneapolis field office, resigned in protest over the investigation. Anger over Good's death shows no sign of slowing down. Thousands took to the streets yesterday in Minneapolis in sub-zero temperatures as low as 40 degrees below zero with wind chill. It genuinely got so cold that MS Now's camera on the ground literally froze and stopped working, and still, the crowds were this massive. Demonstrations also spread to Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport, where more than 100 clergy members were arrested after kneeling in prayer and calling on airlines to halt deportation flights. These protests occur against the backdrop of harrowing images from ICE's immigration crackdown. A U.S. citizen dragged into the snow in his underwear after officers broke into his home without a warrant. A protester pinned to the ground by multiple agents as pepper spray is fired directly into their face from inches away. And some of the most striking images: a 5-year-old boy wearing a blue knit bunny hat and Spider-Man backpack detained by ICE agents. School officials say he was used as bait to lure his father from their home. The Department of Homeland Security has claimed this is all a, quote, horrific smear, and said the child was detained because he was abandoned by his father. But witnesses tell a very different story.
As I got out of my car and came around the corner, I heard, "What are you doing? Don't take the child." His mom, like, there are people here that can take him. There was another adult who lived in the home that was there saying, "I will take the child, I will take the child." Somebody else was yelling, they saw that I was there and said, "School is here, they can take the child, you don't have to take them." And there was ample opportunity to be able to safely hand that child off to adults. And mom was there, she saw.
Joining us now are 2 Columbia Heights Public Schools officials, School Superintendent Zinnia Stenvik, and the person you just heard, School Board Chair Mary Granlund. Thank you both for coming to the weekend, especially as all this is happening in your community and to the children that go to your schools. One of the things that I guess is very confusing, concerning to me is that we as a country are having to have a conversation about children being used as bait to lure their parents out, children being, standing outside and waiting, no matter how they are sitting out there while ICE is taking their parents, despite the fact that folks are saying this kid has a mother, there are other people who can take them. When you think about, Mary, how this impacts the children that are in Minneapolis and therefore the children of this country, you as an educator, someone who spent their life doing this kind of work, how do you think about the damage of what that does to the children of this country?
Yeah, so I'm not a teacher. They are fantastic and work so hard, and I could not ever do all of the wonderful things that they do. But as a parent, as a community member, as the Board of Education chair, I can say this impact is far-reaching, and it impacts every single one of our students, whether you're in Minneapolis, you're in Columbia Heights, we're a suburb of Minneapolis, or any of the other places that have experienced this sort of push of immigration. These children, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see kids come to school and be worried about whether or not they're going to see their friends the next day or see their parents when they get home.
Mary and Zina, before I ask my question, I just want to say, I went to college in Minnesota. I went to Carleton. Minnesota is very dear to me, and the two of you and the thousands of people who took to the streets yesterday are emblematic of the goodness of the people of Minnesota. So thank you very much for everything you're doing to protect children in your care, in your schools. We know that Liam Conejo Ramos wasn't the only student in your district detained so far by ICE. Have you heard anything about those cases? Actually, what has the impact been like on your school?
Yes, we have had 4 students, minors, taken by ICE agents. And so Liam being the youngest at age 5, we also had a 10-year-old girl taken on her way to elementary school in the morning with her mother, and 2 separate cases of 17-year-old children taken by ICE. The first child that was taken, the 10-year-old, I do know is also in Texas. I don't know in the same facility with Liam and his father or where exactly. The 17-year-old children, I don't have any information on where they're at. We do reach out to our local lawmakers and legislators with any paperwork that the family members can give us so that we can help to find them and do, pass it on along to the folks whose job that is. Our focus is educating children in Columbia Heights Public Schools. We're not focused on politics. We just want our kids back and in school where they belong. I also want to really reiterate that both Mary and I wear our school IDs, our badges. We identify ourselves. And we cannot allow it to become normal that unidentified, masked, and armed groups of agents are roaming our neighborhoods and terrorizing our children.
Exactly.
Can one of you detail the circumstances of some of these detentions that have happened? Are these ICE agents coming onto school grounds? Are they conveniently showing up at the time that kids are going home, waiting at certain exits? Is there any advice you can share to other districts, other schools that are dealing with this same issue about ways to work around what's happening right now?
So, of course, this is unprecedented.
The answer to your question. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
I was just going to say some of our, yes to all of those things. We have had children pulled over on their way to school, both with their mother, and with driving themselves because they're 17. We've seen them waiting at bus stops. The community is really coming together to try and support and make sure that that our students are safe as they're coming, as they're going. However, we're community members. We have whistles, they have guns. And I think that that's really important to remember. There's 3,000 or so agents here in Minnesota right now. And our community, our school is 3,400 students. Columbia Heights itself, which is where, our district is. But we also have another part of Southern Fridley and Hilltop as well. But Columbia Heights is less than 30,000 people. And Columbia Heights itself is 3 square miles. We're very small to be having to do this. So honestly, what we're asking is for our Congress people and everybody who sees this, outside of Minnesota and inside of Minnesota, contact your Congress people and let them know, because we can't do this alone. We need their help.
And Zena, did you have any advice for anyone who's dealing with this sort of chaos right now on school premises specifically, and how best to protect your students?
Yes. Unfortunately, in schools, we have to be prepared for school emergencies such as school shootings. This is unprecedented what is happening right now. You asked the question about, are they at our schools? Yes, they have come on our property multiple times. All 4 of our students were taken off off of our campus. But at high school dismissal time, for example, they're driving along the back of our high schools where our kids are trying to walk home safely. And we see with our own eyes because we're out there. Staff are stepping up at arrival and dismissal. Moms, dads, grandpas, retired people are coming out in the cold every morning and every afternoon just to stand there on the corners and be observers. Teachers are walking groups of kids home and then back after a full day of hard work. So education is such a joyful career, and we're just not going to stand for this type of surge to try and take away the joy that we have in our schools. So I guess the advice would be come together as a community, know your neighbors. We have a very connected community and different clergy. We work with local law enforcement, our mayors. People just want to help, and everyone is banding together to keep our children safe. So the federal agents that are coming in, again, unidentified, so they're not keeping us safe. Liam is not a hardened criminal. He's not a violent criminal. We'd be happy if they were just focusing on taking violent criminals. But what's happening is people who have come here on a legal pathway to legal status here in the United States, for some reason, are being taken. And so it's very clear that those who are being taken do not look like me. They're brown, they're indigenous, they're people of color. And so folks who look like me and Mary, it's up to us to speak up and stand up.
Okay, Superintendent. I think the pressure that has been put on teachers, my mom's a teacher, my mother-in-law was a teacher for 40 years in the same community. The pressure you guys have been under forever, and this added pressure is something I think that the American people should continue to thank you for in stepping up in these moments. We have seen ICE, CBP go to other places. They've been to LA, they've been to Chicago. It sounds like they are in Maine. But for some reason, what has happened and what is going on in Minnesota, the way they are comporting themselves in Minnesota, in your communities, is striking a different, it is hitting different for a lot of Americans. They're paying a lot of attention. There's the Renee Good killing, obviously, that put a lot of eyeballs on it, but there's also the pushback from all of you, saying to ICE, saying to the administration, you can't just snatch up children, you can't just snatch people out of our community without saying something about it and being out on the streets, despite no matter how cold it is. Mary, why do you think this feels like a different moment than we've been living in when it comes to ICE over the last year?
I mean, it feels different because we're in it every single day, right? But I also think it feels different because there are so many, so many more than other places have had, and we're smaller. The metro area is smaller than a lot of these other places. But I don't know. I wish I could say why they are here and why they're doing this so much here and why it feels different. But I also know that Minnesota is different. We are built different here. And we famously, we won a war, one of the battles in the Civil War, and came home with a Confederate flag. And we keep it still to this day. And they ask for it back. I think it's Virginia asks for it back every year. And we're like, no, we're going to keep it. And that's sort of the fighting spirit that you have here in Minnesota. You can't come and mess with our neighborhoods, with our friends, with our family, and our communities, because we don't stand for that. And that was very clear yesterday. And it's very clear today in this moment. And we're here for our students, and our community shows up.
Zena Stenvik and Mary Grenland, thank you so much for everything this morning.